I sat in the driveway of my childhood home at 2 in the morning, staring at the glowing red taillights of a brand new BMW, and then down at the crumpled $2 bill sitting in my center console. And that was the exact moment I realized I didn't have a family anymore. Most people say blood is thicker than water, but in my house, blood was apparently worth about as much as a pack of gum, while my sister's happiness was worth $60,000 plus tax. I didn't scream, I didn't make a scene, and I didn't even go back inside to pack my last bag. I just put the car in reverse, deleted every single one of them from my life, and drove until the sun came up. Before I get into the details of how 24 years of resentment finally boiled over into a single night of silence, I have to ask you, was I wrong for cutting them off without a word, or would you have walked away a lot sooner if you were the invisible child? To understand why a $2 bill was the final straw, you have to understand the dynamic of the Miller household. My sister, Chloe, is 3 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, she wasn't just the baby of the family. She was the sun, and my parents were the planets orbiting her. I remember being 6 years old and winning a local art contest, and my dad told me to put the trophy in the garage because it was cluttering up. The mantel where Chloe's participation ribbons from toddler gymnastics were displayed, that was the blueprint for our entire lives. If I got an A, it was expected. If Chloe managed to turn her homework in on time, we went out for steak. My parents, David and Sarah, weren't poor by any means. My dad is a successful corporate attorney, and my mom manages a high-end boutique, so money was never the issue. The issue was that money was a tool they used to signal who mattered and who was an afterthought. Throughout high school, I worked a part-time job at a grocery store to save up for my first car, a beat-up sedan that smelled like old upholstery and stalled at every third red light. When Chloe turned 16, they bought her a brand new Jeep Wrangler, complete with a lift kit and a premium sound system, because they said she was too precious to drive something unreliable. I swallowed my pride back then, telling myself it was just because she was the youngest, but the pattern only got more aggressive as we entered adulthood. I worked my way through college with 3 jobs and a mountain of student loans because my parents claimed they wanted me to build character and understand the value of a dollar. Meanwhile, they paid Chloe's full tuition at a private university, gave her a monthly allowance that was more than my rent, and even paid for her spring break trips to Europe. I graduated with honors and a degree in engineering, and for my graduation gift, they took me to a casual chain restaurant and gave me a set of jumper cables. Chloe dropped out of her first 2 majors, spent 5 years finishing a degree in lifestyle management, and for her graduation, they threw a party that must have cost $10,000. I stayed quiet, I worked hard, I got a good job, I moved into my own apartment, and I tried to maintain a relationship with them because, despite everything, I wanted them to be proud of me. I wanted to believe that if I just did everything right, eventually they would see me. But the breaking point came during what was supposed to be a family healing dinner. My parents invited me over because they had a massive announcement, and insisted I be there. I actually felt a spark of hope. I thought maybe they were finally going to acknowledge how hard I'd been working, or maybe they were going to offer to help with the interest on my loans now that Chloe was finished with school. When I arrived, the house was decorated like it was Christmas in July. There were hors d'oeuvres, expensive wine, and my parents were practically vibrating with excitement. Chloe was sitting on the sofa, smirking at her phone, looking like the cat that swallowed the canary. We sat down for dinner, and my dad stood up to make a speech. He talked for 10 minutes about how blessed they were to have a daughter like Chloe who had found her path, and how they wanted to give her a head start as she entered the real world. Then he led us all to the front window and pulled back the curtain. There it was, a brand new white BMW M-Series with a massive red velvet bow on the hood, sitting under the streetlights. Chloe screamed, hugged them, and started jumping up and down. My mom was crying, telling her she deserved the best life had to offer. I stood there, a ghost in the room, feeling the familiar cold knot in my stomach. After the excitement died down and they came back inside, my dad turned to me. He reached into his pocket and said, "And we didn't forget about you, champ. We know you've been stressed about your finances lately, and we wanted to give you a little something to change your luck." He handed me a card. Inside was a single, crisp $2 bill. He laughed and said, "It's a lucky $2 bill. My grandfather gave it to me, and I thought, who needs luck more than the guy working 60 hours a week?" My mother chimed in, saying it was a sentimental heirloom, and that I should appreciate the history behind it more than the materialism of a car. I looked at the BMW outside, which cost more than my remaining student debt, and I looked at the $2 in my hand. It wasn't about the car. It was about the fact that they spent $60,000 on a whim for one child and gave the other a literal joke. I realized in that moment that I wasn't a son to them. I was a background character in Chloe's movie. I didn't say anything. I just put the bill in my pocket, finished my water, and waited until they went to bed, basking in the glow of their generosity toward Chloe. I sat in that house until 2 in the morning, listening to the silence, and realized that if I stayed, this would be the rest of my life watching them pour love into a bucket with no bottom while I died of thirst. So, that was the choice I was faced with. I could stay, play the part of the bitter older brother, and continue to let them treat me like a second-class citizen, or I could disappear. Before I tell you what I did next, and how they reacted when they woke up to a ghost, I want you to stop right now. Go down to the comments and tell me, would you have thrown that $2 bill in their faces, or would you have done what I did? Was I being ungrateful for a sentimental gift, or was this the ultimate insult? I didn't throw a fit. I didn't wake them up to argue. I simply walked out to my car, parked the $2 bill on the dashboard, and pulled out my phone. I blocked my father's number. I blocked my mother's number. I blocked Chloe. Then I went a step further. I went onto my social media and deactivated my accounts. I realized I didn't want to see photos of the BMW. I didn't want to see the family vacations I wasn't invited to, and I didn't want to hear their excuses. I drove to my apartment, packed everything I owned into boxes, and spent the rest of the night looking for a transfer within my company. Luckily, my firm had an opening in a branch 3 states away that they had been asking me to consider for months. I sent the email at 4 a.m. accepting the position and requesting an immediate relocation package. By 8 a.m., I was already moving. I didn't tell a soul where I was going. Around noon, I checked my blocked messages folder out of curiosity. There were dozens of them. My mother went from "Where are you? We wanted to take the BMW for a brunch run," to "Why are you being so dramatic?" to "You are so selfish for trying to ruin Chloe's big day with your disappearing act." My dad's messages were worse, calling me ungrateful and saying that he was glad he didn't give me anything more substantial, since I clearly didn't have the character to handle it. Not once did they ask if I was okay. Not once did they realize that giving one child a luxury vehicle and the other a literal pittance was the problem. 3 months later, I was settled in my new city. I had a new apartment, new friends, and a peace of mind I had never known. I eventually unblocked them just to see what would happen, and I received a massive email from my mom. Apparently, Chloe had crashed the BMW within 2 months because she was texting while driving. They were asking me, the responsible one, if I could sign a loan for her new car since their credit was hit hard by the insurance spike and the previous car's loss. They actually had the audacity to say, "We're a family and we help each other." I replied with a photo of the $2 bill. I told them to sell it. After all, it's a lucky heirloom, and maybe it would bring them enough luck to find someone else to manipulate. I haven't spoken to them since, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm waiting for a seat at a table where I was never invited. The moral of this story is that you don't owe your loyalty to people who only see you as an insurance policy or a backup plan, even if they share your DNA. Your mental health and self-worth are worth more than any sentimental gesture meant to mask blatant favoritism. If you've ever been the forgotten child or felt like you were screaming into a void while your family ignored you, I want you to know that walking away isn't an act of malice. It's an act of self-preservation. Like this video if you think I made the right call by leaving at 2 a.m. And subscribe to the channel for more stories about people finally standing up for themselves. Do you think I should have answered their email differently, or was the photo of the $2 bill the perfect response? Let me know your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.